I'm Nadira Tudor, and this is The Fall of Kabul, a soldier's story. Was it worth it? Now, I want to start by taking you back to when you first heard the news that Kabul had fallen, how you felt, you know, what was going through your mind, given that you had experience of being there?
Well, first, thank you for having me here. It's interesting to go back into those feelings and piece of my life that was a couple of years ago. Now, to answer your question, my first thinking was all that for that. It was a disappointment, of course, because every one of us did our part. Some did bigger part, of course. I'm thinking about the militaries and the people on the ground. Me, I was a civilian, so I was always behind the walls. But I felt that all this collaborative work that was done there, which is not easy for anyone, and suddenly seeing it completely not cancelled, but going to an end, and a very abrupt end, and it happened so fast. I mean, like a lot of people, I was on TV and watching the news almost in real time, and I really thought, well, all that work for all those years, all this motivation, it was a real disappointment. And I had a thought for the Afghan workers that are working on site with us, and I said, poor guys and poor women, they will go back to their previous situation, which was not very enviable, and I really had a sad feeling for this outcome. Yes. Could it have been done differently, better? I don't know. I mean, this is a little bit above me in terms of you know, the thinking, the strategy, the goals, the political decisions, and everything. But as just a simple participant of this effort, it was not a good day.
The scenes were so dramatic, weren't they?
Yeah, of course, especially when it's also even more dramatic when you went there. I'm thinking about those scenes on the airport, on the tarmac, with people trying to block the planes or trying to jump on it somehow to maybe fly away with the planes. But I've been there on this airport, of course, on the north part to work, but also on the south part to take a plane. So I went into this building, I went onto this tarmac and everything. So it was this strange feeling of thinking I was there, so I know exactly what happens there. I know exactly where it is. You can recognize sometimes some pieces of the decorum, you know, whether it's a wall, a door, or just a scenery, and yeah, again, it was so fast, so dramatic. What a waste.
Were you transported there? You talk about walking on. It's a very strange feeling, isn't it, when you've been in a location and something really so dramatic happens,
Yeah.
whether that's a disaster or something good, or so. From what you're describing, it sounds like your brain was immediately transported back.
Yeah, it's like being back there. Instead of watching on TV, it could have been that I would be watching it from a window, from a nearby building, or from a facility somewhere there. You know, I've never been in the military, and when I went there, it was a voluntary decision to do my little part on it. I was deployed for a full 6 months, and it's one of the times during my whole career at NATO that I actually felt that I was doing something useful and with a direct meaning to my activities. Because, to be honest, I'm in IT, and when you work in the offices here in Brussels, where it's at SHAPE or the HQ or anywhere else, you could almost be in any factory, any businesses, and doing your things, of course. But when I was there, I was close to the people in uniform. I was close to the, I would say, the operation, everything, and so you get quickly, you get this. I'm part of it. I'm I'm in it. And when you see this, it, like you said, it transports you back there. And also, I was grateful to say, okay, I'm not there when it happens, because I mean, it was so dramatic, and um, the sense of danger actually on the spot must have been skyrocketing right away for the people who were still there. Whether it was the civilians continuing to go away to come back home, or the military who were actually closing all the facilities and making sure that the exiting the premises was done the way it should have been done. So yeah, watching this on TV was transporting yourself back there for a short moment. Yeah.
You mentioned a number of things there, your relationships that you developed while you were there over the 6 months, and a sense of danger. I'll start with the sense of danger.
Yeah.
When you were there for 6 months, did you feel a sense of danger, and how bad was it?
The funny one, because afterward it's always funny when nothing happened, of course, was the first incoming alert. So we were trained as civilians. We go before deployment. We go to an extensive training in Czech Republic. So we knew what to do when the alerts rings and when the kind of alert is announced on the speakerphones. But the first one that happened was just a couple of days after I arrived there. My initial thought was, why the hell am I here? Why did I choose to come? I mean, this is the real stuff. It's not a movie. Fortunately, nothing serious happened. So after the alarm, went back to our normal duties, and it came regularly every couple of days. Not that often, but still, there was not a week without an alert. So the more we go through, the less we are frightened, of course, because we are in control, we know what to do. And at one point, after a couple of months, I mean, we were just putting the helmet on, the flak jacket, and continue to work. Because if you are inside, you don't go out, so you just stay there. And I could see my new colleague who just arrived a couple of weeks before, a couple of days, and he was exactly like I was in the first time. He was a little bit freaking out. He was, what do I do? Where do I go? And I just had this reassuring talk saying, no, just put your stuff on and just wait and be ready to obey whatever orders come. But just let it go, relax. I know it's not easy. So to answer your question, yeah, I felt a sense of danger. But with the time, you get used to it a little bit. And you get also reassured that you're well surrounded.
Or do you become desensitized?
Not desensitized, but you manage it. You know, when it's a new situation, whatever it is, there's always the uncertainty and the unknown factor, which is quite destabilizing sometimes from a human perspective. I mean, I speak generally. But when you get used to it, because it repeats itself and it ends good. Obviously, there was never a rocket that exploded nearby me, so I didn't have to go to the next step, which is the actual problem. At the end, you even take it very lightly. I recall one time we were at the cantina and we were eating, and alarm rings, so we go under the table. That's what we are supposed to do. And I saw the colonel, who was my boss, just reach for his plate on the table and continued eating, say, it will get cold. So he was eating under the table. So I was there sitting with the guys, and at the end we laugh about it, because he said, that's the best place to be during an alert. There's food everywhere. So if it lasts a couple hours, at least we have something to eat. So you see, as a human, you try to find the best way to cope with the situation. Panicking is not good. Being frightened is not good. Being aware of the danger is good, because you have to know where you are. You have to know how to react, how to behave. And I was just repeating in my head what we've been told during the training. For example, it's quite obvious: get inside. If it's a soft inside like a tent, try to reach something harder if you can. If you're outside and there is commotions around and you see people in uniform running around with their gun loaded and everything, just don't try to talk to them, just make yourself forgotten And if they ask you to just lie on the floor, face down, leg and arm spread, don't try to explain that you're walking with them. Just do it, because they don't have the time to analyze the situation and to discuss with you. And if there are explosions, they won't hear you. So even if they cuff you, let them go, and then things will be sorted out after. There's no problem, and it's better not to resist, of course. So all those things were in my head, and at the end, yeah, it was a dangerous situation. The sense of danger was always there, but again, like I said earlier, I felt reassured by knowing that the guys around me, they are professionals, they are trained, they are, I mean, I wouldn't want even to say elite people. So I was really not afraid. And my direct colleague was a German military, and we had a very good relationship. And he was just saying to me, in case of an alert, if I'm not there, try to find the thickest soldier and just stay behind, and that's it. So it's a little bit comedic to say it like this, but yeah, indeed, it makes you more, I would say, used or accustomed to it, and ready for the unknown. The other time when I felt danger was when we're commuting between HQ and the airport or other point of presence. It was by helicopter, because it was too dangerous at that time to go by road, and the logistic of road travel was too high. I mean, numbers of cars, numbers of people, and so on. So we went with this helicopter. We were doing those rotations, and very often the door were open. So of course you take the opportunity to look around and to live a little bit like in a movie. And I was looking down at Kabul while flying, and I said, "Oh, what happens if we have to just go down here because there's either a malfunction or there is something else more harmful that happens? How long will it take for the others to come and get us?" And I was looking at those streets, those houses, those movement. And this is also where I really thought, when I'm within the base, I feel secure because of the walls, of course, and everybody is there. But when you're out there, it was really a quick thinking of, I don't want to be stuck in there and waiting for help to arrive. So that was maybe, I enjoyed the flying, of course, but the thought of being stuck somewhere unpleasant was sometimes there. But again, it's only a very, I would say, quick and a quick thought. I mean, it doesn't stay long. I mean, you cannot stay scared like this. Otherwise, better to go home, because you're not able to work normally after and to focus on your job. So yeah, there was a couple of times where you realize that the context is not the usual context. You're not in the comfort of European country where nothing can happen. Well, this is not exactly true anymore, but I mean, it's a different environment. And once you accept it, once you understand it, you know why you're there, you know why this is done, and you know what may happen. It makes it easier to go through, and it also allows you to focus really on your purpose there. You have a job to do, you have to focus on it, and then you do it, and that's it.
It's interesting you describing your training and how it obviously worked for you in those moments that you felt danger. But also, in some ways, did you ever think about the fact that you might have been living a little bit of a false sense of security because incidents did happen around Afghanistan, and the very people who were protecting you actually did die. They did lose their lives. Did this cross your mind, and were you ever around any of those very real incidents?
The only time I was close to, not an incident, but an aftermath of an incident, was when I was in the airport in Kaya. You have the tarmac with a wall with a big door, and then you have the hospital, which is the roll 2, I think, at that point. And when I was just walking to go to one of these buildings, they opened the gates, giving access to the tarmac, and then I saw a couple of doctors and nurses coming out with stretchers on wheels, and actually they were waiting for a helicopter to bring 2 wounded soldiers. And so I stayed there to see how it happens, and of course you have the curious mind who is kicking in. And I saw those 2 soldiers being transported from the airport onto the gurneys and then into the roll 2. And this is where I said to myself, well, this is the reality. This is not a movie. Those people are hurt. Maybe there are casualties where it happened. I don't know. I didn't have the details, of course. But being so close to this kind of action, I'm not saying that it was fun. It's really the bad word, but it was a principle of reality, a reality shock, to say it happens. Something did happen, and it could have been anyone. Could have been me if it was out for whatever reason. And this is where I really realized that people get hurt, people get killed in this mission. And yeah, that's when I also thought this is not fake. This is real. And that's one of the moments when I actually again thought, well, I'm in a special place. It's not my current environment. It's not my comfort zone, but I can cope with it. That's okay. That's not an issue. So this is the closest I was to an incident. I would say not the incident, but the aftermath of it, the return of the people who were engaged and unfortunately got hit.
As a civilian, actually, being so close to that scene that you're describing, it's quite shocking.
It is because first you realize it's again, I will use the same word. It's not fake. It's real. I mean, it's real blood. It's real wounds. It's real pain. It's real. Maybe this guy's life is affected for the rest of his life. Didn't know, of course, the magnitude of the injuries, but could have been just a small thing, or it could have been something more dramatic. But yes, it really moves you to a different world, into a different perception of the reality. And if I make a quick jump to nowadays, when you see what's happening on the TV, of course, with this Ukraine war and now this Israeli and Hamas war, and when you see what's happening there, of course, I was not in those kind of situation of actual battles, but all what I lived, I experienced, and the feelings I had, they come back, because it's not the same situation, but it's very comparable. And it's again people getting hurt, people suffering, and there's a cause behind. Depending on which side you are, you follow your cause and your reasoning. But nevertheless, when I watch those news, I'm pretty sure that I have a different understanding than someone who didn't go to this kind of environment in their life. Thinking about my direct family or my friends or whoever I discuss. And sometimes when I discuss with some friends, you can see the difference of having lived or not this kind of situation. So it's, and I think it will stay. It will be part of me now. It will be part of my memories, my way of seeing the life and the world. And yeah, I think for myself, it's a good memory. Because it gave me first a very humble perception of first my role and our place in our life. It's like seeing an accident. You really think that anything can happen very quickly, and sometimes very small events can have lifetime repercussions. And if you're not harmed by it, you're lucky, and enjoy life and take a good care of it. That's the most compelling message I retain from this.
You can have different emotions watching the same thing, and because you were there, what you got was a snapshot of what happens on the ground during a conflict.
Yes.
Not being involved with the politics, actually. So I don't know what else you saw, but I'm assuming you would have seen the soldiers in action trying to save these two people that were wounded. Can you describe some of that? Because you've said a number of times it wasn't a movie. We've all seen this in a movie. You're absolutely right. But I've not been in your position.
Yeah, what I can say is that walking on what I call the background of this theater of operations, we have briefings, we have report meetings, we have access to information and intel, of course. And when something like this happens, you have reports which are published, of course. So it's accessible for us, depending, of course, of your classification. And I could read a little bit. I could see the wrap up of the event. So it doesn't give all the details, of course. Again, we're not in a movie. We're not following the hero with a camera and see exactly in slow motion what happens. But that's not the point. But it's indeed quite easy to put together the pieces and to get your own imagination of what could have happened, how it happened, and then you talk, because one of the best thing in, when you're among other people is you have to talk about something, so it doesn't traumatize you or it doesn't stay as a bad experience. And of course there, very often you talk to militaries. You talk to people who've been on the ground, who have maybe lived the same things. And then they give their own point of view. Maybe not on that specific action, but maybe a comparable one. Maybe something they experienced themselves. And you get this very easy to believe and truthful, and sometimes also it's pushed with their own emotions, their own feelings, sometimes anger because things went wrong for whatever the reason, bad decision, bad order maybe, or bad luck, whatever happens. And then, yes, indeed, you can get a pretty good idea of, at least mentally, of what happened. And by getting this information, whether it's written on a report or said by a fellow colleague, I think the impression you have becomes very realistic and very almost touchable. I'm not saying that I felt that I lived it, because that's not the case. And again, I was.
But you did live it. You lived your experience of being at the scene.
Exactly. So I would say that this very specific action, I lived it by proxy. I lived it really by seeing this aftermath when they came back, and then by talking with colleagues. So indeed, yeah. But again, I'm fortunate not to have been on an actual spot of an incident. But I have a pretty good idea of what happened, and also when you look at those GoPro or helmet-mounted cameras that they use during the missions, during the operations, it also gives a very precise perception of what happened. And the common factor in all that is the fact that when something happens, everything goes in every direction. Whatever plan was set up is not working anymore. I mean, there's this very common saying that when the battle starts, the plan goes to oblivion. And we try to stick to it, but it's not always easy, and there's always new factors, new circumstances that come in very quickly. And this is exactly what happened, I guess. And so
chaos.
Yeah, chaos. But up to some point, it's controlled chaos. I hope, and I wish for them, because if it's only chaos, I don't know how you can get out of it. But they have to rethink the course of actions, the specific actions to do. The intentions cannot go anymore because they plan to go to A, but it's not possible, so they have to go to B. So it goes fast, I guess. Well, those people, they are trained, of course. And speaking of training, one of the things that reassured me, because I want to go back to this being afraid or sense of danger. One of the first alerts, I was outside also, not in the building, and I saw the reactions of all the military surrounding me. They were getting their weapons either in their hands or securing their helmet or whatever. But very quickly, everything was some kind of a secure thing. I didn't stay too long because our instruction is to go inside and just get out of the way. So I did that. And when the alert stops and you have this siren saying that it's the end of the alert, you can see them removing the bullet that was in the chamber, and then they go to those big can thing. I mean, huge. I don't know how to call them. Filled with sand or concrete or whatever is in there, and there's an opening and a little tube. They put their gun in there and they just shoot to make sure that there's nothing staying in the as a live weapon. But they do that so fast. They do that so in a secure way. This is where I really thought, those guys are trained. They do exactly the good things. They do everything does the same thing. There's a sense of control, security, and professionalism. And this is a little bit different also of what you see in the movies. You have a lot of individual actions in the movies and a lot of heroic things, which has a great value from a cinematic perspective. But when you see the real things, you say, okay, I feel okay because I know that those guys, they are all guys and girls, of course, they are women. I don't want to make a separation. They know what they do, and this is good. I feel secure. I feel protected, and so that's also a feeling that was putting me at ease for my time there.
I want to move on to your relationships, because you mentioned that you felt a part of something in that environment.
Yeah.
Can you expand on that, your relationships with your military colleagues and also the translators?
For the relationship, I just want to say first and foremost that I made good friends there, and it was in 2016, 2017 that I was there, but even still now in 2023, I still communicate with a couple colleagues who are colleagues there, military colleagues. I'm thinking about specific, the German one was my direct colleague. We are working together, but then we had also an American one who we are still in contact. We exchange on social media sometimes a few things. He's also a motorcyclist, so it helps. So we exchange on those things. But I continue to follow his career to see when he has a new recognition, a new award, or he's assigned to a new post. It's something that I was not expecting. When you have colleagues in the normal office, sometimes someone becomes a friend, but for other reasons. But when you live in the same area, it's easy to see each other again. But when those people are coming from very far away and they go back to their home, or if they are militaries, they are assigned to different places in the world, of course. So very likely we will never see each other directly, except if there's a good opportunity, then it will be with a great pleasure. But nevertheless, I mean, the link, the relationship is still there somehow. And so yes, and the other thing that I will always remember was, when you stay more than, I don't recall exactly, X month, 4 or 5 months on the deployment as a civilian, you get a reward, you get a medal. Was one of the first medals I got in my life, after the ski medals when I was a teenager. But and the person who gave me this medal, shook my hand, and he said, "Why are you here? You're a civilian." So I we don't have the time to discuss long because it's during a ceremony, of course. So in a few words, I explained to him why I was here, and he said, "I really appreciate civilians doing their part to support us. So thank you very much." And there, I felt it was a very brief moment, but I felt a recognition. I felt a sense of gratitude coming, but a genuine one, something that he meant, and that's why I thought, yeah, that's why I'm here, and I'm very happy that someone recognized it and tells so. It was very rewarding, actually. So, if I want to go back to your question about relationship, is it because we live almost together 24 hours a day? I mean, we even, the sleeping buildings are literally 3 minutes from your working place. So when you work together during your working hours, and then you spend time together to go to eat or to go to play a game of cards or something else, to spend the evening, and then you go to sleep and you meet the guy again in the in the washrooms, and in the morning you see him taking his coffee with you. So at the end, yeah, you build this kind of close relationship with people, and I think this is also something that makes this experience also different from a social point of view. And the relationship that you have there, I'm very interesting. Really, it feels also good to be surrounded like this with people that you can rely to. And you mentioned the interpreters. Maybe I won't have a lot to say because I didn't work with local interpreters or local Afghan people. It was only when we were doing some, buying a few stuff or going to eat at one of those places where they were offering food and coffee and stuff like that. So we had some little chat with them, but I was not involved from a work perspective with the locals, which I might have enjoyed. I don't know, so I cannot say anything besides that. The one I met and I saw every day for the coffee in the morning, for example, felt very nice people. Very they're open heart. They are. I don't know if they're really happy of what's happening with our country, but I think that they felt that it was better with us there than without. I guess they were hoping for a better life. I mean, this country deserves to be driven by itself, but in the good manners and not the bad ones. So I can only say that there were good contacts, there were nice people, and yeah, maybe they have a lot of smiles on their face, which is also, considering the context, it was maybe surprising to see that they were in such a good mood. But I think it's a human behavior to try to take the best of what we have and to better smile than to be angry. I mean, it's better for your motivation and morale. So I cannot say much unfortunately, about the working with locals.
If we go back to you volunteering to go out there and your expectations before you went, and then your experience and the impact, do you think it was worth it? Do you think the conflict was worth it?
Okay, you're not asking if it was worth it for me to go there.
Both, actually.
Okay.
I'm going to ask both to you.
Okay, I will start with the conflict first, the global picture that doesn't involve me. I think yes, because things could have been better. There should have been a better, brighter future for this country and the people living there. Well, we know the history. We know the Soviet era before, and all the tensions, the wars, this place becoming a background operation for terrorist organizations. Should not have been the case, of course. Now, the way it was managed, the way it was decided, I can only have my vision on it, but I don't have a solution, of course. I will certainly not say I could have done things better, because no, I can't. And I don't have all the understanding, knowledge, and that is needed for this kind of answers. But my belief is that yes, it was worth it. It should have been better. It should have ended differently, that's for sure. Otherwise, we would not have put all this energy and time and effort and resources and lives in this equation. So yeah, I think it had to be done, but the ending is not what we expected. But everybody knows that. Now, from my personal point of view, as small as it is during this grand scheme of things, it was also worth it. Like I said earlier, I mean, it gave me a sense of actually doing something, being part of something, doing my part to support. And us as civilians, that's exactly what we are supposed to do there. Doing all the tasks, almost the chores, that will free the people in uniform of doing it, so they can concentrate on their own mission, which is obviously the belligerent part of it, or the security part of it, because it was mostly a mission of security. So yes, what we were doing had a meaning, had a sense, a purpose. I'm really happy to have done it, because again, like I said, it puts me at the level of what everybody here in the buildings in Europe are doing. At the end, ultimately, it's for maintaining peace and freedom, but by means of actions and military. That's one thing, and the other thing is also, like I said, I'm a civilian, and for personal reasons, I didn't do my military service when it was still mandatory, because I had kids and I had to focus on finding a job and feeding my family. So I'm not hiding behind that, but circumstances made me not do a military service. So I don't have experience in uniform. And working at NATO, it was a little bit missing this thing. I felt not that I was not where I was supposed to be, because I've always done my job with pride and motivation. So that's not the problem. But I said something is missing. The actual purpose of what NATO is doing in terms of presence. And doing this allowed me to live in a military environment for 6 months and to collaborate with people who are doing this job. And it's, to be honest, it's one of the most useful, in my eyes, moment or engagement in work that I've done for all those years that I'm working with NATO was to be there. And when I came back, I changed my job also. I moved from Brussels to SHAPE, and I wanted to go back. So I went to see the operation directorate, and I said, "Can you put me in the waiting list or as a volunteer for our next mission if needed?" And I was ready to go back. And then we had a change in our line management. We were missing a manager, and when he arrived, it was a completely new resource coming from the outside world. And we discussed, and he knew that I wanted to go back to deployment, and he said, "Yeah, but I just arrived. Can you at least stay for at least a year so you can help me getting used to the work and everything?" I said, "Yeah, no problem." And so it stretched a little bit over time, and at the end we came to this to the ending of the mission. So I said, "Okay, won't happen, at least in Afghanistan. Maybe there are other theater of operation, of course." But I won't say that I was disappointed, because it's not like a game that you want to do it to just for the sake of it. But I have to admit that I said, okay, shoot, I could not do this part again, doing my little part to support an operation. Maybe, yeah, in a different context, but this one won't happen. And the thing is that I wanted to go back was also because of my first deployment. It was successful from my point of view. I knew where I was putting my feet. I would have put my feet again. So it would have been easier for me to get back there, knowing exactly how it works, what you have to do, what are the expectations, and the way to work. So, yeah, but it didn't happen. So I'm not really sad, but I think it's a missed opportunity, and so be it.
Thank you for joining us on the Fall of Kabul, a soldier's story. For more episodes and in-depth exploration, visit us on YouTube and on podcast streaming platforms.